Hey guys, my name is Maggie. I'm a Danish baker. Today I'm going to show you how to make a type of kringle. In Denmark it's called a Vandkringle or a Kringle. In English I just call it a brown sugar kringle. There are two types of kringles in Denmark. There are what's called a Kringle and a Kringle. The first one, the Kringle, is a milk dough kringle. It's not made with that flaky croissant type dough. It's made with more of like a brioche type dough. And the second one, the Kringle, that type of kringle, is made with that flaky croissant type dough. Eventually, I will be publishing a video on how to make those, but for today's video, I will be just teaching you how to make this super classic Vandkringle or brown sugar kringle. You can find it all over Denmark. It's really simple and super delicious. So let's jump right in. Wash your hands, roll up your sleeves, and let's get baking. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some water, and then we're going to add some yeast. Next will be some milk, and then some sugar, and then egg, and then we will do some flour. And then our last two ingredients are salt and butter. If you use unsalted butter, you'll need to increase the salt a little bit. So then we will take this over to the mixer and mix this for about 5 minutes on slow and then 5 minutes on medium. And then we will check the temperature and the texture. I will show you that when we come back. Alrighty, so our dough has mixed, and how we know that it's finished is not by the amount of time that it takes, but by the temperature and texture. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you take a thermometer and stick it in the dough, it should read at least 24 degrees Celsius or about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. This reads about 27, which is fine. The second test that we can do is we can take the dough and just start pulling at it. And we do what's called a gluten window test, or in Denmark, it's called a gluten test. And you just try, you kind of just pull at it a little bit at a time, and you just try to stretch it until it gives you a window. We want it to be a relatively uniform window before it breaks like it just did, but this is a good window. We like this. Typically, your dough will not pass that test unless it is at least 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So they kind of go hand in hand. So if you don't have a thermometer, you can just do that gluten test, but I like to do both just in case. So anyway, we're going to portion out the dough. I made a larger portion. If you just follow the recipe in the link below, it will just have you make 2 kringles. So you'll just have to divide it in half. I always use a scale because that's how I was trained in Denmark in the metric system, but you can also just eyeball it. And the recipe is in both metric, Danish, and US customary. So you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, we're going to shape these as a log and set them to the side. How you shape them and get them into that log shape is really up to you. There is no set way of doing it, but let me just show you how I do it. So we just flatten it down, and then we bring the sides in to overlap each other. And then we just roll it and push and roll over itself. And then I use my thumbs and kind of push it against the countertop to tuck it under itself. And that will distribute the dough into a uniform log shape. If it's more thick in the middle, focus your pushes on the middle. If it's more thick on the outsides, focus your pushes on the outside. But that is how I shape it into a log. You can also just kind of roll it up. It'll be a little bit longer, but that works just fine too. So we'll do that with the rest of them, and then we will let them rest for about 5 to 10 minutes until the dough has relaxed a little bit, and then we will roll them out and put the fillings in. So what we're going to do is we're going to dip our dough in some flour, and the reason why we are dipping it is because we want it to be a little bit sticky. And it's because when we start to spread the fillings out, if the dough does not stick to the countertop at all, then it will just slide around, which is really annoying, to be honest with you. So we can take our dough and flatten it in our flour so that it has flour on both sides. Now we're going to roll it out. The thickness is easier to adjust than the length. So I focus more on the length first and then the thickness after. And this is actually a good thickness. So I'm going to leave it like this. Now, the reason why I press it down is because it helps it stick to the granite countertop. If you put too much flour on this side, you can just do your best to dust it off. Or like in this case, there's less flour on the side that's facing me, so I can even just flip it over and now it will stick better to the countertop. And I'll do the same thing with my second piece of dough. And then we're gonna put our brown sugar spread on. Then you can take a spatula or you can use the spoon, and I'm going to just spread this out. You don't want it to go all the way to the edges necessarily. So I just try to focus on keeping it in the middle. But if anything, you want it to be thicker up top and thinner down low because you're going to roll this up. And if it's thick below, then it will squish out. Next, we will do our vanilla custard. And then we will do some cinnamon. And the amount of cinnamon that you do is totally up to you. If you like it heavy on the cinnamon, go heavy. If you don't like cinnamon, you don't have to do cinnamon. You can omit it. You can also use cardamom or nutmeg, pumpkin spice, whatever you want to do. Make it your own based on your preferences. And then we roll them up. You want the filling to be locked inside. We don't want to lose any of that goodness. And that's why we have this lid of just dough on the bottom so that it can just lock it all in. Now the length of these kringles, I want mine to be about 9 to 10 inches round. And the way that you would check that is before you put the filling in, you roll it out and then you roll it up just like this without the filling inside. And then you can wrap it around into a rough circle and see if it's about 9-10 inches. But it's okay if it's a little bit fatter. It'll just make your kringle thicker. Only one will fit on a half baking sheet. So you'll take 2 baking sheets and you'll put them on and shape them into a circle. This Glazing Kringle that I was talking about in the beginning, the shape for these is a circle. The Vandkringle Kringle has a different shape. And we just lift it up and then you take one side and you flip it over and you see the seam. You open the seam up. And then you take this other side and put it inside and then roll it up. And then you shape it into a circle and push it down. So our kringles are now resting for just 5 minutes or so while we mix together our egg wash. So you take a little bit of water and a pinch of salt and an egg. You put those all together. You take a fork and mix it around really good. This is how you make a basic egg wash. The egg wash is not necessarily needed if you didn't want to do it. It will just make your kringles a little bit prettier because egg causes the dough to get a nice, shiny, golden brown look on top of it. And then we'll just take a paintbrush or a basting brush, whatever brush you might have, and we'll use that to baste the kringles. So our dough has rested for about 5 minutes and it's also dried out a little bit, but that's okay because we are going to get the dough moist with some egg. So the next step is to make an indentation all the way around the kringle. And I like to do it so that where the seam is, that's where we end. Because sometimes you'll get little air bubbles and they can just come right out of the seam. And you push it down so that your finger won't go all the way through, but it parts the filling into these 2 sides so that there's not really any filling in this well. So then we'll take this egg wash and we're going to baste it. And then I'm going to take some custard. Now, this is a piping bag, but you could just use a Ziploc bag and cut the corner off, or you could even just spoon some custard on top of it. It won't be as pretty, but it will taste the same. So then I'll just take this custard and I'll pipe a circle. And then we just let this sit in a warm place. If you have a windowsill where there's some sun, you can put it there and just make sure that the dough doesn't dry out or it'll crack. So we put it in a warm place until it becomes nice and pillowy. It will not double in size. It'll just become kind of soft and pillowy. I'm guessing it'll take about 30 to 40 minutes. It could take less. It depends on how warm of the place it is. So just keep an eye on it. And really quick, before you pause the video, if you're making the kringle with me, preheat your oven. This is a perfect time to preheat your oven. It can take as fast as 15 minutes for your kringle to proof fully. So get your oven preheating so that it will be ready and nice and warm for you to bake. and that will be at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or about 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so here's our Kringle, fully proofed. It's a bit stickier. It's a lot fluffier. It even has some like little air pockets in it. So we're gonna bake this until it's golden brown. I'm gonna guess that it'll take about 20 minutes, but I'll let you know. Every oven is different, and so you wanna just keep an eye on it, set a timer for maybe 10 minutes, check on it and see. My ovens, they heat really unevenly, so I have to rotate at least halfway in between. So we're gonna bake this and come back when we're done. Our Kringle is all done, it's baked. I even decorated it a little bit and it's all cooled off and ready for us to cut into and see what it looks like inside. It baked for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees, but I'm gonna angle the camera down so you can see what this looks like as we cut into it. Okay, so here is our Kringle. As you can see, there's some glaze on it. The glaze tends to melt into the custard because the custard has quite a bit of moisture to it. The glaze is literally just hot water and powdered sugar that you mix together until it reaches a good consistency that you can drizzle it on. The recipe for that is also included in the link below. So let's cut into this and see what it looks like inside. So I'm going to cut this into fourths just because it's so big. Here we are. You can see some of the layers that it has, that brown sugar spread and how it kind of has a little bit of a spiral. It's nice and moist, super soft. It will dry out, the dough, if you just leave it out, but you can cover it or you can put it in a plastic bag and you can even stick it in the freezer. So anyway, there's our Vandkringle or brown sugar Kringle. That's all today. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions or concerns. When you follow the link to the recipe on that website is also my contact information, and you can email me, you can send me pictures, you can ask questions. I'm here to support in any way I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy baking!